Welcome back, Chapter 7. Hi, Jocelyn said to Luke as he lifted the shovel and threw the dirt onto a pile. He glanced at her but said nothing. So, what is this? You're not speaking to me? I talk when I have something to say. He picked up a big bag of mulch and threw it on the back of his pickup. She thought maybe he wanted her to leave him alone, but she didn't go. It was late Sunday afternoon and she was exhausted from all that had happened in the last 2 days. Did you see the food in my kitchen? I haven't been in your house since you threw me out last night, and I haven't checked any doors or windows. Ooh, he is salty. Thanks for not telling Sarah that you and I were alone in the house late last night. I know you told her that you went to see Tess, but you didn't tell about me. So, it's all right for Tess to get a bad reputation, but not you? I think that Tess could stand still and do nothing and she'd get a bad reputation. To look at her is to have carnal thoughts. Luke turned away quickly, but she saw his smile. I saw that. If you can smile at my jokes, you're not totally angry at me. See Rams at church? He sat by me, asked me to marry him, and I accepted. I congratulate you. You two will make a fine couple. This time next year, all you'll want to talk about are curtains. If you could see the future, would you ask it what I'm supposed to do? Luke began shoveling again. What do you mean, do? Joss looked around for a place to sit, didn't see one, so she sat on the grass. Miss Eddie, she began. What about her? She was a very important person in my life. We all have important people in our lives. Yeah, so what's important to you? Luke held a shovel full of dirt for a moment. The usual parents, friends, relatives. My grandfather was very important to me until he passed away. He's not important now? Joss asked softly. Luke gave a bit of a smile. Sometimes I think he's more important to me now than he was when I was growing up. I was a bit of let's just say that as a kid, I was a little bit obstinate, bullheaded, stubborn, had to do everything your own way or you wouldn't do it. Were you my first grade teacher, the one who stood me in the corner half the day? No, but I'm on her side, Josh said. So what about your grandfather? He was a solitary man, liked to do things himself, and so do I. If that's a hint for me to go away and leave you alone, I'm not going to do it. The house is too big, too empty, and too... Anyway, it's nice out here. Tell me your story. There's nothing to tell. My grandfather and I were alike, that's all. He liked to be alone, and so do I. So we were often alone together. Alone together? That's the perfect description of Miss Eddie and me. The kids at school thought I was crazy to want to spend time with the old woman with scarred legs. They used to make up stories about how her legs got that way. What happened to her legs? Luke asked. World War II, Josh said. She was in London in a car that was one of several hit by a bomb. Her side of the car exploded and Josh hesitated. She was set on fire. There wasn't much of her legs left from about the knee down. Josh shrugged. No one thought she'd live. She was moved from one hospital to another while they waited for her to die, but she didn't. By sheer force of will, she was not she by the excuse me. By sheer force of will, she not only lived, but she walked again. And after the war, she went to work for a doctor. They traveled the world together. After they returned, he used to visit her often, and he was a great storyteller. I used to listen to him for hours. She paused for a moment as she thought. Miss Eddie had told me about Dr. Brenner, and I seen him in countless photos, and I'd always had romantic thoughts about the two of them. I knew he was married and had 2 daughters, but still, I thought there was some great unrequited love between them. But 5 minutes after I met him, I knew there was nothing between them like what I thought. They were like a well-oiled machine in that he knew when her leg ached, and he never even paused in his talking as he ushered her to the couch, covered her legs, and got her a cup of tea. And she did the same kinds of things for him. At the end, his heart had given out and she made sure he took his medication and didn't do too much. Joss paused as she tried to control her emotions. But the kids didn't care about any of that. All they thought about was that her legs looked funny. She used to wear thick black hoses even in the summer, but you could still see the scars. And as she got older, she walked with 2 canes. Luke paused in his digging to look hard at her. What's that look for? You went to that little college and took a job as a teaching assistant to be near her, didn't you? No, I like the school and I like my job. I did it. She broke off when he kept looking at her. Yes, I did. But I didn't tell her that. And I guess she didn't know? Too dumb to figure it out, huh? Jocelyn gave a little laugh. She probably knew, but we didn't talk about it. I guess when you're Miss Eddie's age, you know that there's times after the people you love are gone, you have time to do things, like go to school and even to get a proper job. She looked at the house in the distance and thought about Miss Eddie's ancestors living there. She could almost see Miss Eddie as a child running out the back door. So you got what you wanted from her, didn't you? She left you this house and lots of money. I did not stay with her because I wanted anything from her, Jocelyn said as she came to her feet. I stayed because I loved her. Maybe you don't understand that, but she glared at him. Why are you smiling at me like that? Got you away from the tears. It took Jocelyn a few moments to calm herself, but then she saw what he'd done. Sneaky. My middle name. She sat back down and for a while watched him work. He seemed to have removed all the grass off the big rectangle of an area, piled it into a heap, and was now digging into the bare dirt. Whatever are you doing? This is called double digging, but overall, I'm putting in an herb garden. I asked you about it, but you didn't say anything, so I went ahead with it. If you don't speak up, you don't get to say in its design. You didn't say a word to me about a herb garden. Last night you talked to me about Ramsey and let's see about Ramsey, but I never heard the word herb from you. For all I know, you don't even know the word. Are you telling me that you spent the whole day with Sarah and Tess and not once did they give you my message? Message? Joss asked. They said you told them you wanted to put in an herb garden. I didn't get the idea it was a message sent to me. Who else would I be asking? You own the place. Do I? Joss asked. You dig up my backyard and I don't even get a say in what you're digging. So who owns this place? All right, Luke said as he jammed the shovel in the earth, then leaned on it. Do you like the idea of reproduction 18th century herb garden like I planned or not? Maybe you like something Victorian, or maybe you like something with a chrome and glass fountain in the middle. That will go well with the house. Just let me know and I'll be sure to put it in. I'm just a gardener and I do what the mistress of the house tells me to. Jocelyn opened her mouth to make a scathing reply, but couldn't think of one. Tell your mom thanks for all she did in my bedroom. I will, Luke said, and again had to turn away to hide his smile. And thank you for putting the bed in. You're welcome, he said. For a moment they were silent. When Jocelyn watched him, his muscle played under his t-shirt and his jeans clung to his strong thighs. He had the body of a man used to working outdoors and it showed. She checking him out, is she? She made herself take her eyes off of him. You know what Sarah and Tess and I did this afternoon? From the sound of the laughter of you girls, I think you smoked some weed and ate chocolate. Think Sarah's mom sell grass at her grocery store? If she does, you can bet it's organic. Jocelyn smiled. After we eaten until we could hardly walk, we packed all that food up and took it to a couple of churches. And I don't know where we were, but Tess drove us there at about 60 miles an hour, and we loaded tables with food. It was quite nice. Tell me about Tess. Luke gave a little snort. I can tell you all I know about Tess in one word. Nothing. But Sarah said you visited her yesterday. I visited you too, but that doesn't mean I know you. I keep beer in her fridge and I stop in when I want to talk to her about something. About gardens? She knows less about gardens than you do. Usually, I talk to her about Ramsey. Right, Jocelyn said, Ramsey. He gave her a sharp look. You need to know that whatever you do with my cousin in the future, you'll have to share him with Tess. At the office? Joss said. No, everywhere. Rams. Luke lifted his head in dismissal. I'm not going to talk about Ramsey and Tess. Ask them. Did you come out here to get the local gossip from me? I wanted to see what you were doing in my garden. Luke held his arms out. What you see is right here. So why an herb garden? Why not? Jocelyn groaned. Did your lack of conversational skills come about because you were a loner as a child? Or did your inability to answer a question make people stay away from you? Some of both, I guess. What did Sarah say about me? What makes you think I asked her about you? He lifted an eyebrow at her. So maybe I did. She said you were much, much older than she is, that you played high school sports, and that she knows nothing much about you. I genuinely love that girl, Luke said. So she lied? Evaded. So what plants do you want to put in this thing? Herbs. Jocelyn said quickly. I asked for that one. What kind of herbs? I don't know, she said. For pizza and spaghetti, I guess. They're the same ones. What else? 4. Her head came up. I know. I want lavender. What kind of lavender? Would it make sense to say that I want the kind of lavender you can eat? Perfect sense, Luke said, looking as though he was pleased with her. Intermedia is usually considered the best for eating. It's better known as Provence lavender. Sounds wonderful. Can you put some in this garden? It depends on how much of it you want to eat. I don't know, she said hesitantly. Do you want to graze lamb on it to make the meat taste good? Or do you want to make a few dozen cookies? He asked without patience. She narrowed her eyes at him. I want to make a voodoo doll of you and stick lavender pins in it. He laughed. Come on, I'll show you where we can plant some lavender. He put the shovel down, took the towel off the bed of his truck, and wiped his sweaty face with it. I haven't seen much of the garden at all, she said, looking out through the big trees. You've been too busy. Don't say it, Joss ordered. What? Luke asked with exaggerated innocence. That I've been too busy with Ramsey. I was going to say that you've been too busy getting to know people to spend much time in the garden. But if your mind goes to Ramsey and stays there, who am I to contradict you? You can be a real pest, you know that? I've never before had a woman tell me that. My mother, yes, my cousins often, and some of my uncles. But women never say I'm a pest. Spare me, Joss said, but she was smiling. You have dirt on your face. Yeah, so get it off. Ooh, they flirting. They is flirting. He leaned down so his face was close to hers. She lightly brushed her hand across his cheek, but the dirt didn't move. She brushed harder. Is this stuff glued on? Take your shirt off and wipe hard. he said without a hint of a smile. Josh shook her head at him and stepped back. Get it off yourself. He wiped his forearm across his face and the dirt came off. Better? For a moment, Jocelyn just looked at him. He was a very good-looking man with his dark hair and his green eyes. When's the last time you've shaved? When House did. It took her a moment to realize he meant Dr. House on TV. It was one of her favorite shows. Smiling, she followed him as he made his way through the trees. As she looked at the land around her, she couldn't help thinking, all mine. Everything she saw belonged to her. Could you show me the property lines? Glad to, he said. He took her around the 18 acres she now owned, all that was left of the 1,000 acres the young man from Scotland had bought for his kidnapped bride. Luke knew the grounds well and pointed out where the old cabins used to be, the well house, the dovecote. He stopped at a treeless spot and said the blacksmith shop used to be there. When we were kids, we'd come over here and dig in this area and find pieces of hand-wrought iron. Charlie found 3 horseshoes. What about Sarah? Did she find anything? She was good at finding arrowheads. She said that the 19th century was too new for her to care about, so she didn't bother with horseshoes. Interesting that you know that about her, but she says she hardly knows anything about you. Luke gave a little smile, then moved farther into the trees. The old brick kilns used to be back here. Look, he pushed aside some bushes, and she saw a low brick wall. I put these bricks back together so you could see the foundations. He spread his arms out. We can put your lavender in here. The ground is sandy and lavender likes that, and it gets a lot of sun. I can almost imagine what this place was like. Maybe I should restore it to what it once was. It would cost too much to do that. And besides, Colonial Williamsburg has done a better job than we could. She liked that he said we. It made her feel like she was part of something. This place likes having been here all these years, Luke said. It likes living and likes the generations that have been here. I think the house breathed a sign of relief when old Bertrand died. Maybe the house was glad he didn't get down to selling the doorknobs. He did, but Ram stopped him. Did you help? Jocelyn asked. I wasn't here then, Luke said quickly. What do you think about this place for your lavender? It looks great, but what do I know? Do you mean you were gone for that week or that you weren't living here in Edelin? So tell me more about making love on top of blue corn chips. Point taken. She said, no more personal questions. I wonder if Miss Eddie let her brother sell so much because she was cleaning the house out for the next family. That's what Ram said, but I think she just wanted to be rid of the old junk. Of course the attic is still full of it. Have you been up there yet? No. I went up the stairs, but the door is locked and I don't have a key to it. Rams will give you one when he tells you about your inheritance. Sorry. Luke started walking again and she followed him. So how much do you know about the deal with the house? You stay, you get it all. You leave, the money stays with the house. Just what I heard, Jocelyn said. But wasn't that supposed to be a secret? Luke shrugged. Somebody took the dictation. Somebody typed the document. Who knows how things get out? It's my guess that you know exactly how it got out, but I also guess that you won't tell me. You're smart, aren't you? Does that make a change from most of the women you know? Luke didn't answer, but pointed to a long, low brick building in the distance. I put that place back together, but it looks old. Thank you, Luke said. That's a good compliment. I had to dig up old bricks, then clean them off before I could use them. They had reached the building, and she saw the way Luke's hand touched the side wall. It was a labor of love, wasn't it? She said. More or less. Did you always want to be a gardener? He looked at her oddly and seemed to be about to say something, but then changed his mind. No, I came to it later in life. I decided that there was nothing like working with the earth. Nothing gives a man more pleasure and more satisfaction. Think it's an ancestry thing? Are you from generations of farmers tilling the soil? Not that I know of, Luke said. My dad ran offices full of salesmen, and my grandfather was a doctor. Like Sarah's father? Yeah, Luke said, obviously pleased that she knew that. Uncle Henry worked with my grandfather for years before Gramps retired. You take you fishing? Joss said, just the two of you. That was the other grandfather. Oh, she said. Luke opened the door to the brick building and Joss knew they were in his workshop. It was nice in there. Above the workbench with his tools was a round window. She stood on tiptoe to look out it and saw how close they were to the house. In fact, when she turned her head, she could see the entire back of the house and both apartment doors. She saw the little white table where she sat with Sarah and talked. She got off her toes and looked at Luke as he studiously moved some tools around on top of an old cabinet on the opposite wall. When you're in here, you can see everything that goes on at the back of the house. Can you? He asked. I guess I never noticed. She glared at him until he turned to look at her, giving her a one-sided grin. Yet something else she learned about him. Now that Luke was looking a bit guilty at what could possibly be interpreted as spying, she thought she'd do what she could to get information out of him. So who was Tess talking to on the phone today? Luke walked to the door of the shop. About 3? Jocelyn nodded. Her brother. She talks to him every Sunday afternoon, no matter what. You could take her to a rock concert or have her hypnotized, and if it was Sunday, she'd call her brother. You sound almost jealous. You're an only child like I am, so aren't you jealous of people who have siblings to share their lives with? Only child, Joss said. What a lovely thought. She broke off. There was no way she was going to tell him who her stepsisters were. Yeah, I've had a lot of fantasies about having sisters who were good and kind and who actually liked me. He raised an eyebrow at her. Did my remark open a can of worms? If you did, let's have Ramsay make us a casserole, she said quickly, making Luke laugh. Pies. He made pies with mud crust, he said. When he was 7 and Sarah was barely a year old, he almost got her to eat one, but her mother caught him and he looked around as though to see if anyone was listening. No, none of us ever knew what had happened, but Aunt Ellie, that's Sarah's mother, took Ramsay into her house, and when he came out, he looked downright green, and he never again made the worm pie. Seemed like she made him eat it. I don't know if I wish I'd grown up in this town or I'm glad I didn't. What was it like living with Miss Eddie? Afternoon tea, concerts on weekends? I didn't, Jocelyn began, but closed her mouth. Let him think that she lived with Miss Eddie full time if he wanted to. It was too complicated to explain that her elegant mother fell in love with a man who thought what was painted on the gas tank of a Harley was high art. Too much trouble to explain her mother's death, her father's remarriage, and how Jocelyn had grown up with people who were so unlike her that she often felt as though she were from a different planet. Until she met Miss Eddie, Jocelyn knew no other world. You didn't what? He asked. She started to make up something, but his cell phone rang. He opened it and said, Yeah, 4 times, then handed it to her. It's for you. Me? But who? Luke's eyes told her, Ramsey. Hello, she said. Everything okay? So you're going through the garden with Luke? Ramsey said. I wish I'd known you wanted to see it. I could have taken you. Or I could have gone myself, she said. Luke works for me, remember? How could I forget since I signed his checks? Do you? Joss asked with interest. I hate to pay bills. Could we continue this way? Jocelyn, I'll continue with you any way you want. After church today, all anyone could talk about was how pretty you looked in that pink dress. They liked that hat, too. Luke was staring at her as though he wanted to hear every word that was said. She turned her back to him. Can you come into the office tomorrow? Ramsey asked. We can talk about the terms of the house. You mean you're planning to talk to me about business? I most certainly am, he said, and she could hear him smile. You wouldn't like to have lunch afterward, would you? Are you asking me out? Unless you want to go to my house and eat pasta again. By the way, I need to get Viv's chocolate pot. Did she have the baby? Ramsey hardly paused before he laughed. No, she didn't have the baby, and she isn't trying to make a new one. She wants it for some party for one of the kids she already has. Want to go with me? Sure. When is it? Tuesday afternoon, 1-ish. Can I pick you up? Or do you think that arriving at a party with me will make it look too much like we're a couple? Maybe we should take Luke so it's not too obvious about us. He hates kids and kids' party. Better not take him. So how about coming to the office at 11? Then we'll go to lunch. Sounds good? Sounds delicious. I'll see you then. She closed the phone and handed it back to Luke. Another date? Business, then lunch, and on Tuesday, a party at his sister's house. What party? Luke asked quickly. Ramsey said it was for one of his sister's children, a birthday party. None of the kids has a birthday now. He trailed off, frowning for a moment. Then he looked at her. I think I better make an appointment if I want you to go to the nursery with me to pick out herbs. How about tomorrow afternoon? If you can tear yourself away from Rams after lunch, that is. Why do you want me to go with you to buy herbs? I don't know one from the other. Okay, then. I'll plant some hemlocks and henbane. She thought Ramsey was kidding when he said Luke hated kids, but his remark made her unsure. Nothing poisonous. Let's see. You told me you don't have any preference on the herbs, but so far you told me you want lavender and nothing poisonous. What about mint? Oh, I like mint, she said cautiously. He was up to something, but she didn't know what. Okay, you want the entire garden done in mint and nothing else. Not the whole thing, just some mint. For your information, mint is one of the most invasive plants known. So if you put mint in the herb garden, that's all you'll have. So, do you want mint or not? Wait, let me get a pad and paper because this list of things that you do and don't want is getting too long for me to remember. All right, she snapped. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll go with you to buy plants. I don't know what kind of plants, but whatever you tell me we need, we'll get. Why do you want me to go with you? Just to annoy Ramsey? You don't have to go with me, he said, his voice lowering. You could tell Rams that you can stay at lunch all afternoon because you have nothing else to do. Or you can tell him you have to leave because you're going with me to buy flowers. Jocelyn blinked at him a few times, then smiled. You have a brain under those whiskers, don't you? They are some smart people. My mom thinks so. My dad is less sure. What time do you want to leave? 2 on the dot. I'll pick you up outside the restaurant. How do you know where he's taking me for lunch? Oh my gosh. Luke snorted. The trellis. That's where he always takes his women out on the second date. If there is one, that is. It's in Colonial Williamsburg. He'll order the special, then tell you you must share a piece of chocolate cake with him. It's great cake, the best, but it will take you until 2:30 to eat everything. They were back at the new herb garden site in Luke's truck. So, I'm to tell him I have to leave at 2? She asked, thinking about what he was saying. All in all, she liked it. If I were a less cynical person, I think you were trying to help me with Ramsey. He is my cousin, Luke said with a shrug, but he turned away so she couldn't see him smile. That's nice of you, she said, but her voice was hesitant. She slapped at a mosquito on her arm and decided it was time to go inside. I think I'm done for the day. The light was fading. Are you going to work much longer? No, I'll just clean up and go home. She started to ask him where he lived, but decided it was too personal a question. Tess let you keep enough food for the night? He asked as he scraped dirt off a shovel with a towel, then put it in the back of the pickup. Yes, but I need to buy some cookware for the kitchen, she said, and I need to go to a grocery store. Easy enough, he said as he put a pitchfork into the truck. Maybe tomorrow we can. Just show me where things are and I'll find them, she said as she started for the house. See you tomorrow at 2. In the next minute, she was back in the house, and the stillness of it seemed almost eerie. It was a house that needed people. When there was one other person in it, or several, the house came alive. It almost seemed to smile. But when Jocelyn was in it alone, she wanted to run upstairs and shut the bedroom door. She went to the kitchen and picked up a couple of oranges out of a bowl. The table was covered with clean dishes that had contained the welcome food people had sent. Sarah said that during the week, the women would stop by to pick up their dishes and to have a chat. People haven't been in this house in years, and they're dying to see the inside, she said. Jocelyn had grown, dreading the constant tour guiding she'd have to do. Don't worry about it. They'll come in groups and save you from having to do too much. Joss had smiled weakly. Now she turned off the light, went into the big hallway, and checked both doors to make sure they were locked. She left the low-watted light on in the hall and started up the stairs. Just as it was downstairs, there was a wide hall with rooms leading off of it. One side was the big, massive bedroom with an enormous bathroom, while the other side had been made into 2 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom. She took a shower, moistured her entire body, put on her nightgown, then walked toward the bed. On impulse, she looked out of the window, parting the curtains just enough to see out. Luke's truck was in the driveway and the engine was running. Was he waiting for Tess? She wondered. Reaching over, she turned out the bedside lamp, and when the room was dark, Luke slowly drove through the gates. He'd been waiting for her to turn out the light. Jocelyn meant to get into bed and wait a bit. Then she turned the light back on and read a while. But the next thing she knew, a ray of sunlight was coming through the curtains. It was morning. And that's the end of chapter 7. Oh, this is so cute. Luke is so smart. And I feel like Luke and Jocelyn are better matched. It seems like Ramsey have an alternative motive for something. He just don't seem, he don't seem, I can't put my finger on it. He just don't seem like he's that interesting. Like he kind of cornballish, even though he looked good and he's a lawyer, he kind of cornballish a little bit. I don't know why they making him seem so nervous around Jocelyn, or like he don't know what to do or how to woo her and stuff like that. It seemed like he's a go by the book kind of person, follow a list kind of person. And I don't know. And then with Jocelyn and Ramsey, it seems like Jocelyn is trying to pull stuff out of Ramsey a little bit. You get what I'm saying? A little bit. But then, also, I don't know why she not talking and telling stuff, but maybe there's a point of why she's doing it. She says she don't want them to know too much. But I'm still trying to understand the dynamics between her and Ramsey. But the dynamics with her and Luke is there because he get her jokes and he laugh a lot at her jokes, and they back and forth is just on point. But she still think Ramsey is for her, right? Because of Miss Eddie. Interesting. Okay, so I guess we get ready to find out what the rest of the will say. I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.